I have become increasingly interested in revisiting older games, whether it's emulation, playing them again on PC to modify the experience. It's 2025, so I'm probably dating myself because I am super late to Skyrim on PC, but something happened to me. I couldn't tell you what, but I have become increasingly interested in the idea of these alternate start mods. These are ones that modify the opening to the game so you can be more immersed in the game world. I tried a few of them, and if you've been playing Skyrim on PC, these won't be new to you, and I'm sure you'll tell me that. But coming from someone who is recently dabbling in this world of modding on PC, I thought it would be fun to talk about for a few minutes here. I do have other mods installed, like a combat overhaul mod, some texture mods, but mostly we are playing the game as is, as it comes, the vanilla package, if you will. I hope you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you like it, or if you want to see more like this, or dislike it if you don't. All of that is useful data to me. Otherwise, I don't care. I said it at the outset, and I'll repeat it again. I am fascinated by the idea of alternate starts for Skyrim. They don't add a slew of new quests. Often they are just kind of throwing you into the game world. Usually, you would start the main quest on that caravan coming in as a prisoner. But this offers you a different way to be introduced to Skyrim, to the game world. If you're familiar with the world, relatively familiar that is, with Skyrim, and you want to feel more immersed in this world, this mod or these mods will offer you that. We'll start with the first one that I tried out, Skyrim Unbound. It offers a more immersive experience. I'll probably say that a lot, but you can set some variables here in a menu like your standing stone, whether you're diseased or even dragonborn. The dragonborn option I find particularly interesting because you can in fact just ignore the main quest entirely by choosing this option. As the description here reads, you can absorb souls or do dragon shouts or even start the main quest at all. Sure, you can change that later in the menu, but it is a cool option in case you do want to choose that. Further, you can even set a delay on when dragons will begin to appear in the game, whether it's beyond a certain level, how many days it takes, or just turn them off entirely. When I was doing this, I had some visions here of those Zelda randomizers that I have been diving into here and there. It provides an interesting setup for you in the world because you can drop in and create an entirely different reasoning for your character to be doing really anything. We can also customize starting gear, weapons, spells, inventory, or just randomize it. I like the idea here of picking a randomized build as much as possible because you can tell them to just drop you in, knowing very little of what kind of character you want to play, and then you can go based on how you just spawn in. I had an idea of making a character that had very little on them and was just completely downtrodden, but slowly worked their way out of said circumstance and then built up their credibility, their mass fortune, their power, and I thought that would be a cool idea. I wanted my character to be poor and pathetic and weak. I ended up picking a random start location and I built my character. You know, I always pick Argonians. They're my favorite, but I spent way too long customizing him just for the sake of trying a mod out for an hour or two. Nonetheless, being thrust into the world in this way was interesting to say the least. I immediately recognized via the bone mold armor on the guard here that I was in Solstheim. I was in jail with no explanation, no quest, nothing. Not even really anything to speak of. I just kind of, I think, set like that I had 50 gold and a sword on me. I eventually figured out that I guess I don't really have anything else to do besides break out and escape to Skyrim. And the only problem with that plan was getting back to the port and having enough gold to get out before anyone saw me. I ended up serving my sentence because I am not good enough or smart enough to have been able to deftly get out of there while avoiding the law, especially at level 1, and there was no way I was going to be able to fight any of the guards. Eventually, I made it to Windhelm in Skyrim, and that's where I finished my exploration of Unbound. You listen to all that, right? And you're saying to yourself, or to me, this is not new stuff, Ryan, we know about all of this. But maybe you're just interested, maybe you're new to Skyrim, or Skyrim on PC, or Elder Scrolls in general, and you're interested in getting some extra roleplay out of an old game. Maybe you've played it a lot and you didn't know about any of this, or you want to try something new. It makes total sense to me that you would stumble upon this or want to try something like this. Maybe you didn't think about it. Unbound is an awesome way to get that experience. You can set specific variables, or my favorite angle for this mod, as I said previously, randomizing it and just playing with what you have available. Let the character come to you naturally. You're just a random dude, random guy. You're nobody special. Maybe you step up, become something greater, or maybe you just kind of continue taking odd jobs to get enough money to buy a home in one of the towns. This mod and the others like it are all about role-playing. Live Another Life adds a slightly different angle. It lets you pick from a bunch of options, a bunch of random backgrounds. You make your character, then walk over to the statue of Mara in the cell that you're in, and you pick from a number of different options. Options like, I was slain by a vampire and laid to rest. I am a warlock in a secluded lair. I am a city guard in one of Skyrim's major holds. Or I was attacked and left for dead. I own property in one of Skyrim's holds. Or even something as simple as, I want to get out of this cell. You go and sleep in the bed nearby and you're off to live your new life. It doesn't offer quests, none of these mods do, but what this mod does do is offer a brief synopsis in the journal of your character's background or what they were doing. In that regard, it's interesting to start this way. Because of that, you sometimes get to pick where you start. For example, as a city guard, you get to pick where you start or where you are a guard. Or where you own property, you can pick any of the holds or even a farm. I played a bunch of them all with different characters, just trying to see how I felt about the different openings or the different backgrounds it gives you. Again, this is another case of giving you more immersion in the game space. You're a part of the world, a citizen of Skyrim. Depending on your headcanon, maybe you aren't. One of the big differences is that you don't get to pick whether you're Dragonborn or not. I think you are just by default, so that is one thing it doesn't have that Unbound does have. Unbound allows you to have a more customized experience, or at least allows more in the way of picking gameplay variables like inventory, spells, and starting point. The backstory is in your head, you have to make it up. Live Another Life allows a different level of immersion here, where it gives you the framework of a backstory, allowing less menu options being selected, and more just you being dropped in after said framework has been established. Usually it results in you being set free in the game world almost immediately. For example, in the city guard background, and maybe this is my fault for setting up unrealistic expectations of what this mod would do in my head, you are already free to go in the city guard background, as the background reads that your commanding officer has allowed you leave of your post as there's been a slew of new recruits. What is next? You don't know. I like to imagine in my own mind that there's been enough new recruits, and by the time my character would get back to Solitude, enough time would have passed for there to have been personnel changes. And that's why nobody acknowledges that you were a city guard. I will say that's where it can be a little bit immersion breaking or be a little odd with something like this, because you can't expect that it's easy to script a bunch of random currently existing NPCs to acknowledge your background, at least in the scope of these mods. Even in the owning property background, I chose to be a farm owner, and it's rather fascinating and entertaining in its own right to try out such a background, and you're also supposed to be able to collect gold at times from your farm hands. But it's using an existing property or a location. The characters don't really have any ability to acknowledge that they work for you, and if they do, they don't really say anything, and it's mouthless. There are no lines that they say. It can almost feel like the game is broken, but it's not. I'm broken. I'm kidding. Am I? I don't know. You decide. Alternate Perspective, out of the ones that we talked about so far, is my favorite. It drops you into Pilgrim's Rest in Helgen, create your own character, and then you get some starting items from various containers lying around. When you're ready, you can talk this tiny young man atop this tiny word wall up here, and then you can pick from a bunch of options. From randomizing it to starting at a random inn, coming in overseas to starting with one of the guilds, or even having your own property. The coolest part of this mod for me is the way it integrates into the main narrative. I started with the Dark Brotherhood in this background that I picked, and you will have already done the first quest and be in the process of joining them. You can venture back over to Helgen, except what you'll find is a fully functional Helgen with merchants, an inn, and plenty of NPCs walking around. If at any point you're ready to start the main quest proper, you can go to Pilgrim's Rest and choose to stay at the inn and pick the start intro option. You will awaken to find that there's an Imperial caravan coming through with a bunch of prisoners. It forces you into the position of a bystander, watching the events unfold as they do instead. You're not a prisoner, just a person who is in the wrong place at the wrong time. When the dragon attacks, you get knocked out and you see the title screen, and then you awaken to Ralof telling you that you have to get moving, after which it all plays out like it normally would, only you started it from a different perspective. or an alternate perspective. In terms of seamlessly weaving itself into the main narrative, I think of the different options I tried out, this one does it the best. I am earnestly just captivated by this idea of being able to start the main quest whenever, and seamlessly slipping into the game without having to go through the vanilla intro. Although with most of these mods, this one included, you can choose to use the regular intro if you choose. It's all about role-playing and giving yourself extra options ultimately. The only wonky part of the mod, which I don't know if it's wonky so much as it's just a thing that you're going to encounter, and I get why it is this way, but it's similar to what I mentioned earlier, where there's some unvoiced lines so you get to see text on the screen. It does take you out of it a touch, at least it did for me, but it's not a big deal. Helgen itself is not going to feel as lively as another city or town in Skyrim, but it's enough to make it feel like a place you can use as a pit stop until you decide, I'm going to start the main quest. Realm of Lorkhan is the most interesting one. It offers what I think is the most extensive in terms of options for potential role-playing. You create your character and then you're in another realm entirely, the Realm of Lorkhan. There's a little welcome note that tells you that you have some starting gold among other things, and when you're ready to leave, you can use any of the glowing gems that are floating around and it will send you to a different place in Skyrim. It tells you where you're going, of course, and at any point, you can leave. From here, you're allowed to explore the realm a bit, pick up some extra gear from various satchels and such. They're labeled with different class types of archetypes for your character. We can also head inside here to the hall and pick up some extra gear, or you could pick up the gear that's lying around because it's not owned items, so you can sell it to the merchants and just get some extra gold, which is pretty sick. The coolest thing this mod does is that you have the ability to pick some extra perks or curses for your character, kind of in Outer Worlds where you get perks, but you also get to pick flaws. A clever way of introducing some extra benefits and also hindrances. The perks are listed mostly as classes, which gives you some extra buffs. Taking on those curses gives you extra perk shards, so you can pick more buffs the more you put on. You just need to decide if the trade-off is worth it for you. In terms of role-playing, which is the through line with all of these mods, Realm of Lorkhan is the most thorough. It doesn't provide a backstory or quest line of sorts, none of these really do but gives you the ability to really set up your character's archetype ahead of time, allowing you to create an interesting backstory if you so choose. Set up your starting gear, your flaws, your buffs, and even get some training and some skills before you set off. It's really awesome in that regard. You can start the main quest by talking to the Jarl in Whiterun, so you're still able to play the game mostly vanilla once you start. Another cool little wrinkle that this mod has is that it allows you to have some allegiances to some of the different factions in the game. Maybe you're sympathetic to the Forsworn, or to bandits, or even the Draugr, in which case these factions won't be hostile to you. You are warned that it may cause issues considering some quests may rely upon you attacking certain factions, so be warned there, but again, it adds another layer on top of everything else for you to consider. For my time, I started below deck on the Red Wave. I came outside and I was outside of Solitude. From there, it's really a matter of deciding where I want to start my journey. The only minor nitpick I could have, but you can use your own headcanon of course, is for example, when I started and I appeared below deck on the ship and talked to the other NPCs, they simply say, I am not supposed to be here. Maybe you can explain that away with a bit of headcanon and thought, and again, I can't really expect these relatively simple mods in comparison to some of the more involved ones that they're going to script and change voice lines, so again, it's very minor. Otherwise, it's a great way to give your playthrough a bit of flavor and let you hone in on building a character, living up to the whole way Elder Scrolls games try to get you to live your life in another world. I love the way that this mod, I mean all of them really do this, but I love the way that this one integrates into the game seamlessly. And again, like all of the other ones I've mentioned, it's all about embodying your character, which after all this time can give you a fresh perspective and way of playing the game that will maybe have you consider playing it again. Sometimes that's all it takes. The idea that you're just a random citizen or sorcerer or vampire who's going about their own lives, and now you're out to find your own way. Yeah, you're still playing Skyrim, but your whole point of view can shift just by using something like Realm of Lorkhan, or Alternate Perspective, or Skyrim Unbound, especially if, like me, you have been through those opening moments of Skyrim too many times to count. Why have I become obsessed with these mods? Well, when you have played a game like Skyrim, or Mass Effect, or KOTOR, the amount of times I have, the only way you can get more mileage out of a game or experience is to add new ones. I finally have a competent PC that can do more than just play a game. It can run tons of mods to give this old game, and old games like it, some new life. Will I stick with it? Maybe, I don't know. But either way, thanks for watching this video and let me know if you have a preference, or maybe there's another mod out there that you know of that's not as popular. I am interested in all of your tales and journeys through Skyrim and its modding scene. I'll see you in the next video. Love you all.
Why? I want to watch the soldiers.
Inside the house. Now.
Yes, Papa.
Get these